nickel, nickel, nine. Yeah. 5-9J. Let me speak my mind up. It's just me keeping it real. Keeping it 100. Let's go. Yeah.
Hey, yo, what's good with everybody, man? I hope everybody's having a productive day, feeling blessed. And like I always say, is one life, one chance. We only got one chance to do this right. Let's get it done. With that being said, man, I came across a story in 2024. And it took me a little while to do some digging, find out some information on like the dude's back history, because it's real easy. We all understand that in California prisons, every inmate is getting access to a cell phone. But now even more so, you have only the prison organizations who want to conduct organized crime and expand their enterprises are the ones getting control of, contraband cell phones. And we're starting to see the moves that they can make and the possibilities that they can create, what they envision by sitting in a cell. Maximum security prisons turned into nothing but headquarters to a lot of these prison organizations, whether it's the Aryan Brotherhood, whether it's the Mexican Mafia, whether it's the Nuestra Familia. Like I told you guys about that podcast, that cell phone is a powerful tool if you know how to use it right. For the right reasons or the wrong reasons, that device moves mountains, bro. It can create millions. And this guy did it from Salinas Valley State Prison. So let's get right into the video. You see this guy across the screen. I'm not even going to begin to pronounce his last name or his whole name, period. Mexican national, coming from Mexico, from Durango and Zacatecas. Dude has cartel ties for across that border. But if you know this man's backstory, dude, he's a 3-strike felon, bro. He got struck out in the California prison system in the 90s over petty stuff, petty crimes. He's doing life without the possibility of parole, 25 to life, over petty crimes because of the 3 strikes law. But he's a Mexican Mafia member. He actually got made, and I believe it was the 1980s, late 1980s, when he was in Salinas State Prison. He killed a norteño when the Northerners and Southerners were going to war because he was working for this man, Weddle Sherm. So Weddle Sherm stamped him a long time ago, made him a Mexican Mafia member. But like I said, documentations, prison validated sources, they only pinpoint who they know of for sure. They usually are analytical and scrutinize those that they believe are very powerful people. This guy was moving drugs in Pomona and Compton for years in the prison system, but he was a low-key Mexican Mafia member. He was a Mexican Mafia member that nobody knows about. And that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm trying to tell you guys, we talk about some of the main names in California prisons. You got the Weddle Caballos, you got the Tercos, Weddle Shy, you got, just the bigger names, right, that, been highlighted in the past few years, but you don't know about some of the names that I've came across. I've heard of some names where I was like, bro, I have no idea. Like that MM member that got made from Salinas, a Southsider from La Posada, he got made. There's a lot more members being made. There's like I said, we got a Mexican Mafia member named Tiny Tim that's out right now in the streets working with a lot of people from, and I believe it was Puente and Bassett. Then you have, we don't hear too much about this guy, Wizard from Florencia 13. He's doing big things. There's a lot of people out there. Mexican Mafia from Van Nuys. Even trust me when I tell you, there's a lot of Mexican Mafia members we don't know about. He was one that I didn't know about until, he recently got indicted, a federal indictment out of Alaska. And I was like, bro, what the hell's in Alaska besides fishing docks and fishing boats and fishermen and cold? I'm like, I would not be wanting to go to Alaska for no reason whatsoever. But the man has never set foot in Alaska a day in his life, right? See, he went to prison a few times, got some strikes on, burglary charges, shooting at some of them rival gang members he believed were West Siders. But it was a married couple and an infant child in a vehicle. He shot at him. Nobody got hurt, so he got assault with a deadly weapon, brandishing firearms, opening firearms in, public areas. Small time. Came out, went back in for burglary charges, came out. He was out for 9 years. He was running his own landscaping business, and he had a lot of family that he was helping get across that border to work his landscaping business coming from Mexico. Well, he believed somebody in his house might have tried to set him up for a robbery because, cops pulled him over. He was on the streets, frantic, waving a pistol around everywhere. And the cops confronted him, and he was like, yeah, man, somebody tried to rob me. They hogtied my family, everybody in my house. They said they were looking for drugs and guns and money. And I guess he put flyers all over Pomona saying there's $100,000 reward for anybody that set this robbery up or knows about this robbery to try to rob him and his family of all the drugs, the money, guns, whatever, that stuff that he didn't have, but they just took his, the money that he earned from his family business, the landscaping business, right? And lo and behold, somehow, some way, an altercation takes place at that same house, and he gets busted. He gets busted in possession of illegal firearms. Bam! Got 3 strikes. Got strucken out. So he goes to prison in the early years, and that's when he became a Mexican Mafia member. And Salinas Valley is his headquarters. And that's when he did it all with the cell phone. Now, just so you know, in this federal indictment, the DEA literally started working with CDCR to tap his phone. They tapped his phone for a year. Tripped out, right? Like, I was trying to figure out how they did it. Like, did they personally tell CDCR member, like, hey, go up to his cell and tell him you want to sell him a cell phone? Or is there like some computer technology where they set up shop in that, in that tower, found out his cell, pinned it, binged it, whatever, and just linked up this, spyware or whatever software to say, you know what, now we got his phone tapped. We know he has a phone in his cell. Now we're hearing everything. But the DEA did approach CDCR, and CDCR did help to tap that man's phone. And this happened under the watch of, supervision of correctional officers that was supposed to be watching these guys and monitoring these guys. And this dude did it by himself in a prison cell with a cell phone. So basically, he got in contact with his contacts in Mexico, Durango, Zacatecas, and everywhere else in Tijuana, and was moving buttloads of drugs from Mexico to Los Angeles, from Los Angeles on flights all the way to Alaska. He had a network of women. This is one of the women that he was married to, Cristina Quintana. He goes by Letty. And a couple other women, but most importantly, he was recruiting, I don't know how and I don't know what ways. There's a more detailed version of this story in Los Angeles Times you could read about. But he was recruiting from women that were in Alaska State Prison. He had a recruiter there, a woman that would cut her monitor off when she parole, go on the run, and recruit women to work for his network. And he was trafficking meth, fentanyl, pills, heroin, counterfeit pharmaceuticals, all the way from Mexico to Alaska. And Alaska was tripping out because there was so much fentanyl overdoses happening in one whop. And they couldn't understand, like, bro, why all of a sudden people are dying of overdoses? Where is all this coming from? Little small villages, Alaskan villages, where it's just, in the mountains, bro. Just in the mountains. And this dude had high-ranking members of his network who were all women, and he called them his wives. He had multiple wives, including this woman right here that's facing charges as we speak. Here's are some of the co-defendants that are involved. But there was over 53 people that got indicted for robberies, extortion, murders, kidnapping, tax collection. Dude, they were committing crazy murders. This woman right here, one of his wives, literally shot another woman in her kneecaps, blowing her kneecaps off, just collecting the drug debt that she owed to this man. A lot of it was done through Cash App. A lot of it was done through Western Union. A lot of the communication was done through Cash App. A lot of the transactions that they followed went from Alaska right down to his cell, and from his cell straight to Mexico. Crazy network, bro. A crazy network that he was conducting from a prison cell, from a cell phone. And the cool part about it, a lot of people got busted. And this is the crazy part. The DEA, when they were tapping his phone, they overheard the sanctioning of 2 murders. And then those murders happened. And I was sitting there like, wow, bro. So you hear about the murders. You don't know who it is because everything's talking in code. Then the murders happen, and you let the investigation continue to go on. All right, we know he killed them. We'll pin it on him later. We know he sanctioned women. But the cool part about it is that he was having women murder women. 2 women were murdered on behalf of this network for failing to provide the drug money to his organization. They were murdered. along with other members that were murdered, along with other people that were getting assaulted and robbed and jacked and beat up and robbed and beat down with, bats and weapons, pistol whipped like crazy. And a lot of these women are now facing indictments and are getting busted for it, including her, the woman that you see across the screen. She had a messed up childhood. She was raped by her uncle. Her uncle only got 6 years for that in prison. She started using drugs, started sleeping on the streets. Just, she was looking for trouble. And she ran into somebody in the penal system that just happened to be working for this man and got recruited into his network and organization. And then she went on the run from him. He wanted to kill her. Some money was coming up missing. Some drops were coming up short. And it was crazy because she was one of the ones responsible to go around to all these different villages. And every time they would utilize the U.S. Postal Service to mail like small increments of the narcotics they were shipping through the mail that wasn't being detected, she was responsible to go around to all these different addresses, all these addresses that all these drug addicts were providing, and collect everything that man shipped from Mexico, from Los Angeles up to Alaska. And they were making hundreds and thousands of dollars monthly. And a lot of those hundreds of thousands of dollars were getting shipped right back to Mexico monthly. I mean, that man don't need $100,000. He just wants network and power. But like I said, power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely, because the more powerful he got, the more abusive he became. He made all his workers download this app called Life 360, which is, supposed to like parents be monitoring their children so that he can track them down wherever. And that's when she went on the run from him, and he was trying to kill her, one of his main workers, one of his main wives. And he had people, looking for her all through the mountains and the forest, trying to kill her in the middle of nowhere. And now everybody's facing charges for it. And what's crazy is that, he's pleading not guilty for it, right? But one of the statements he said in court was a trip. He said, "Man, I'm a creator. This was my vision. I visualized it. All I got to do is visualize something and I can build it. That's what I do. This was my masterpiece. This was my artwork." He was saying stuff like that. And I'm like, bro, this fool's arrogant as hell. Yeah, it lasted quite some time. It lasted a few years with the DEA just monitoring everything. And if the DEA has these phones taps and is monitoring everything, CDCR knows that the DEA is monitoring these guys, and the CDCR is like, well, let them take care of all the heavy load, man. We just here to babysit. We're here to watch. Like, bro, for once, do your job, bro. This dude had multiple people killed in the state of Alaska, bro. In Alaska. Got fishermen with boats. And it's crazy because he was doing the old school ways like Pablo Escobar was doing. He literally had women on flights, taking flights from Los Angeles, Pomona, and Compton, going to Alaska with drugs in their body or in their suitcase. Like, in plain sight, the old school way. And he was getting it done for years. And like I said, there's a lot of power that can be done and be created in the prison cell. All my prison years, dude, I seen so many powerful moves that were done in prison, and we're all just sitting in a cell thinking this stuff up. And somebody else next door is thinking something else up. The way the Aryan Brotherhood and the Mexican Mafia were in Pelican Bay, and they were able to take over the care packages, take over access and walking horse. This is what they were doing. They were literally buying the packages from Walking Horse and Access, sending it to their family's house. Their families would open it up, fill it up with drugs, repackage it, tell the company you send it to the wrong address, and then mail it to the facility. And these guys were getting it in their cells. Drugs, quarter pounds, half pounds, cell phones up to you know what. It's that easy, bro. When you sit in a prison cell and you have nothing but time to think, I never thought in a million years I would be able to drill a hole in a cement wall and hide a cell phone in it for 8 months and then cover it up and paint my wall with wax, and it doesn't even look like there's a hole in the wall. Cops walk right past it. And I know how to retrieve it. I know how to put it back. Never thought in a million years I would know how to cut my bunk open and hide my cell phones at the edge of my bunk. We just figure it out. I never thought in a million years I would knock a principal in a school that work for the CDCR, and we use the mailing system like this man did. I never broke it down how we utilize the U.S. Postal Service, but he utilized the U.S. Postal Service. It's real easy to utilize the U.S. Postal Service. Trust me on that. And I would utilize the U.S. Postal Service and get 2 cell phones and a zip of dope every Tuesday delivered out in the U.S. Postal and get it by Thursday or Friday and be partying like crazy for a whole weekend. That's what these men are capable of doing. But that's what U.S. dollars, U.S. taxpayer dollars really pays for. You guys giving these guys a maximum security housing unit where they really can't get arrested because they're already arrested. So they can do as they please, create these networks for themselves. And when they do get busted and they do get indicted, well, what more can you do to them? They're already in jail. They made enough money to be put away and hidden somewhere where you can't find it. They made connects. They created one drug ring. You took it down. They're going to create another one by the next year. That's what these men do when they sit in the cell. They sit there and they plot. And now that you know CDCR knows these guys are getting cell phones and really don't give 2 craps about it, these men are calling each other. And that's all you need. That's how a network starts, when you have multiple men with multiple cell phones, and each one of them has ties to the city, ties to loyal soldiers, ties to drug cartels, ties to drugs, period. And y'all can create a network just by text message, a couple of phone calls, a couple of people on the streets that want to be loyal to people. This man had multiple wives loyal to him, got them all indicted because he was recruiting women from an Alaska prison, putting them on to selling drugs and becoming drug runners. And he did this for years, having people killed, extorted, paying taxes, selling drugs. And they're going to hold him responsible for all the fentanyl overdoses. Even though I'm pretty sure they won't be able to pin everything. They're pretty much saying that he was responsible for a lot of the fentanyl overdoses that were taking place during these years. Tripped out story, right? So I wanted to share that story and bring that story to your guys' attention. So with that being said, like I always say, is one life, one chance. We only got one chance to do this right. Let's get it done. Peace.